Now let's take a look at a 1948 Gottlieb Jack N Jill pinball. This is one of the games that was in the Nursery Rhyme Fairy Tale series. The very first game was Humpty Dumpty in that series, and this was the fourth game. This series of games, the Fairy Tale Nursery Rhyme series, introduced the flippers to pinball. Before that, pinballs didn't have flippers. Now in these days, when they first invented flippers, they weren't as strong as the flippers that we have nowadays. They're more of a lobbing type of flipper. They'll move the ball between sides of the play field, but they won't bring it all the way to the top. At the most, they can bring it up one level, but even then, that's stretching it a bit. This Jack and Jill is a very nice game, in my opinion, because it has great interaction between the backglass animations and the graphics and the story, you know, the nursery rhyme, and the playfield graphics. It actually tells the story, and it tells the story actively through backglass animations. The story, you know, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, and that's what all this shows. Up here at the top is Jack and Jill fetching a pail of water. In the upper middle play field is Jack and Jill falling down, and at the bottom is Jack with a bump on his head, a bump on his crown, and Jill's over here, and all she did was lose a shoe. Now this character I wasn't familiar with, and I went and researched it, and apparently it's Old Dame Dob. It is a second verse of Jack and Jill, and she is the one that attends to Jack's injury. And back then, it was common to make a plaster out of brown paper and vinegar to fix bruises, and that's what he has on his head. So if you look real closely, this says vinegar on it. I was puzzled by that in the beginning, but it all makes sense, and it matches very, very well with the second verse of the nursery rhyme. It says that Old Dame Dob patched his head with vinegar and brown paper. So that solves that mystery for you that are wondering what in the world that character is doing there. Now let's quickly go over the game scoring. Start the game by pushing a coin slide. You hear a ticking. You may not hear it on the video, but there's a ticking going on, and that's the mechanical timer which times the game out after a certain period of time. Hopefully we'll get this video done before it times itself out. Every time you start a new game, it resets the timer. So the goal of this game is to spell out Jack and the word Jill, and then you get the bonuses. And of course, in this day and age of pinballs, the whole purpose of these games was to get free games. And so we have standard 10,000 scoring off the pop-uppers. And you'll notice up here, every time a 10,000 score is made, the nursery rhyme progresses. Went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. That gets you up to 90. You go here and you reset, you go to 100,000, and then it redoes the nursery rhyme. That's a really nice feature right there, I think. Another interaction in the back glass is Jack's eyes. They're rollover buttons. And look over here, that's Jack holding his broken crown or his bruised head. That flashes with multiple knocks. Now the bonuses are counted up over here, and they're taken by going into these outholes. So let's we take a Jack, J, A, C, K. Whoop, I didn't get C. Whatever. There, that's C. That lights up the upper special. So what that does is gives you a free game. Now you may not see it here, but I'll have a close-up to put in the video here. That's a free game. Number 1 showed up. The bulb came on in the back. It stayed off until you got a free game. So if we go another free game, it went up to 2. There's 2 there now. That's a really neat little feature. The rear projection going through the back glass. They put a lot of thought and effort into this entire layout here. I really, really like this. This is my favorite game of this series. Then we can spell out Jill. There's a I, there's a J, there's an L, there's an L. Now that lights up these holes down here. Let's get the ball up here. So if we go into this hole, we got a free game and it advances the bonus. Let's get that out of that. Keeps this center post is on some games and not on others. I'm quite sure that this is an original post location, so I put it back in. The hole was in there and it looked like an original hole. But it does tend to bounce the ball continuously sometimes back into this bonus. I've got 12 free games on this thing so far, so if you get both bonuses built up and you can get into this middle hole, you can really build up some free games really, really fast. Now there's a 50,000 bumper in the middle. It doesn't seem to be lighting up right now. There it is. Let's take a look at the back box of the Jack and Jill. We'll just do a quick top to bottom on it. Now, a couple of things about this is you notice that this has a power pack in the middle. I obviously added that. I used the 110 outlet that they supply for service, and I moved it. And what this does is supply power to the scene lighting, which is on as more of the attract mode of this kind of game. Now, when they built the game, right here, they put a 110 bulb. I think I forget what the wattage was, but it was a large 110 bulb, and that was their scene light. And that's why you see a lot of these Jack and Jill back glasses are just blown out right in the middle. That's the scene light overheating the ink, and it just falls off. So I bought a Shea reproduction back glass, and I certainly didn't want that to happen. So I cut out the circuit of the bulbs for just the scene lights, not for the other lights that are around here, just the scene lights. I isolated those, and then I tapped in this wall transformer set for 6 volts, and when you turn the game on, even if you haven't started a game, this is the scene lights that you get. It's a much better scene light than the single bulb that was in the middle, and this won't blow the game out or blow the back glass out. The other thing interesting about these games, these early 6-flipper nursery rhyme fairy tale series, is this projector unit here for the credits. It uses a 6-volt bulb, which a lot of them are missing when you get it, and you may not know what bulb to put in there. It's a standard automotive 6-volt bulb, not a 12-volt bulb. I just went out and bought some today. It's an 1129. I found these at AutoZone, but I've also found them at Pep Boys. And you put that in there, and that works just fine. It has to be the full-size bulb, not one of those short 6-volt bulbs, because it has to be tall enough to go through this aperture hole right here, which is sort of a poor man's lens. It's an aperture that feeds a lens. It's hard to see this without good lighting, but right in here is a lens. Back here is a wheel with all the credit numbers cut through it, and it rotates around, and this light projects through this aperture, through the number wheel, through the lens, and then through a hole in the backboard, and it projects itself out onto the front. Kind of a neat little concept. rather complex, and it requires this 1 6-volt bulb that a lot of people probably don't replace. Other than that, everything is standard back here. Originally I did have some problems with this stepper arm here. This was missing, the wires were falling off and I couldn't tell where they went on, so I had to use a series of jumper cables to experiment until I found which one scored what numbers, and then I knew how to put in new flexible braiding and which wires that were grounded together. So that works real well.